Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Real Positive Girl podcast with me, Sabrina. This is the show that's going to help you become your best self. And today we're talking about struggling doesn't mean you're failing. But before we jump into that, as always, I want to invite you to come say hi to me on Instagram. I'm at Sabrina Joy Perozzo. I also have a great email address for you to send any sort of questions, comments, concerns, prayer requests, feedback, topic suggestions, or just again, to become friends on the internet. You can email me at realpositivegirlpodcast@gmail.com. And then there's also in the show notes, along with where to find me on Instagram, and my email address is my website, which is sabrinajoy.com, where you can sign up for my every 2-week newsletter. Also listen to episodes of the podcast there and fill out the contact me section and contact me and have a conversation with me there, whatever fits you best, whatever you would prefer. So I look forward to hearing from you soon. And again, I love having conversations. I love helping you out. And I love any suggestions on things to talk about that will actually help you. But let's go ahead and just jump into today's episode, which again is struggling doesn't mean you're failing. So do you ever feel like you aren't succeeding the same way others are, in the way that they are succeeding? Or maybe you've been going through so much crap and problems lately that it feels like all you're doing is struggling. Do you feel like you identify with either one of those things? Because I sure do. But when we are feeling like we aren't succeeding and others are getting further ahead in life than we are, it can cause us to question how well we're doing, right? It's that darn comparison obsession that we sometimes have, sometimes deal with. I certainly deal with being that person that's constantly comparing myself to other people and where they are in life, despite the fact that I know we are in different seasons of life. It's a hard habit to kick. I just want to admit that to you. I'm having trouble. Maybe you're having trouble. And I want you to know that's okay because no one's perfect. No one can be perfect except for Jesus. And so it's totally fine. We can continue to work on ourselves, become better. And so when we fall into this mindset of thinking, wow, we are not succeeding the same. We must need to change everything. Something needs to go. Feeling terrible about yourselves. And so when you're going through struggles, it can feel like you're failing, right? It can definitely feel like you are a massive failure. It's not going well. You're not doing what's right, which would cause you to, in addition to comparing yourself to other people, also to want to consider what you need to change, what you need to do differently, how you can completely copy and mimic someone else that is succeeding, especially if they're doing the same thing or something similar. So a lot of times when we're going through these struggles in our life, we feel like we're failing. It can feel like you're never given enough time to recover. So it's like something happens and then maybe something else happens, and maybe it's like this domino effect of things that are continuing to cause you to ride that struggle bus all around town, multiple routes, multiple days, weeks, months, however long. It just feels like you are always on that freaking bus. And, it can feel like you're the only one going through this experience too. When you are struggling, when you are just in it, struggles can feel so isolating. And I hadn't really thought deeply about this. When I was writing notes about how you can feel like you're the only one, I was like, yeah, that just feels so isolating, because despite the fact that even if you know in your right mind that someone else has gone through something similar to you, or you just know that the problem and the struggles that you're currently experiencing are normal, it still feels really isolating. It feels like you have to do everything alone. It feels like you are the only one that can make anything better, the only one that's causing anything to be worse. It's just, it's very isolating. And so you're dealing with feeling overwhelmed, trying to come up with the best problem-solving solution, and keep everything else in your life together that has nothing to do with whatever the struggle is. It's just a lot. It's a ton. It's too much. It's like, seriously, can we pump the brakes on what the heck is happening in your life? And I felt that way. I felt that way recently, because it's like, why does it keep coming? Everything, it just keep on hitting, right? It just feels like it'll never end. You just want to take a breath. You feel like you are being slowly like held underwater longer and longer and longer to a point where you're like, I'm going to drown. That's kind of like how it feels. And meanwhile, people, just people in general, are out here telling you that the other side of your struggle is the place you want to be and to just keep going, right? And that could even be sometimes like people like me, where I'm like, it's okay, you can just keep going. Yeah, like once you get through this struggle, it'll be awesome, and you know that you won't question why you went through it because it'll be worth it and all this stuff, right? And so people, even people like me, who are trying to be out here and motivate you and give you advice and help you be led and coached in down the journey that you need to go, down that, the path that leads to accomplishing the goals and becoming the person that you want to be, right? Which sounds nice. It sounds nice to just like accept, like, yeah, just get to the other side and just keep going. But it isn't always the most helpful thing you can hear in these moments, just to be totally honest. Like, it's just not. It's just like, to be honest, there really isn't too much that can be said while you are knee deep in the struggle that will make it like magically better. Like, there just isn't. I want you to take a moment and even think about that, because it's like, is there anything that anyone can say to you that will just magically make you feel better for longer than like 5 seconds? you know like motivational phrases here and there, genuine people coming to the rescue when you need support, and having the ability to take mental and physical breaks can be great helps. These are things that could help you feel better for longer than 5 or 10 seconds. But it's still just all up to you, right? And what I mean by that is that, you're going to hope that someone can just come along and take all of the struggle and pain and uncomfortability and how much you don't like what you're going through. You're going to hope that someone can just come and take it away so that you can just like move on and be like, okay, like it's done. Someone else is going to deal with that burden. I'm moving on. But life isn't that simple, right? Because like I said, you can have these few things come into your life and people will help you and you'll get moments to like take a breather, but it's still up to you to get through this struggle, to deal with whatever struggle you're going through. And everyone's going to have something different. And sometimes the ones that we have are similar to others, but it's going to be different because you're going to do it and deal with it your way. And you're going to own it in your own way. And you're going to appreciate and learn from it in your own way. So just trying to mimic a way that someone else has gone through it or is currently will not necessarily equal the same wins for you, the same success for you. It's important to realize that. And I do need to mention that, I'm talking about how struggle does not equal failure, because failure has such a negative connotation attached to it where it's like no one wants to fail. No one wants to come close to that word. No one wants to attach that word failure, failing to their name. It just feels shameful, feels embarrassing. It feels like you're a fraud. It feels like you are not who you said you were. You're not who people thought you were. It's not turning out the way that you promised everyone would, promised yourself it would, really hoped for, right? But I need to mention that failing is not a terrible thing. It's really not. And the reason why I phrased this episode as struggle doesn't mean you're failing is because of how people see failure. So it's kind of like hopefully giving a roundabout understanding that like you're not failing, but even if you feel like you're failing, you're not, because, feel like you're failing, then maybe you are, but maybe we should just embrace it, right? It can feel terrible in the moment, feeling like you're a failure, going through those failures, going through those mistakes that you make, because what you wanted to happen didn't happen. And this means more time will be spent and effort put out in the long run, which isn't fun. You're going to have to do it again and figure out what needs to change, and it's not going to happen as quickly as you wanted. The outcome will come later than you wanted. Patience is necessary. But failing isn't the end of the world because there is so much you learn while failing. If you are not new to this show, then you know that I talk about that all the time. Mistakes and failures are one of the key ways for you to learn necessary pieces of information, necessary lessons, necessary experiences to make you stronger, better, more growth. Absolutely necessary. And it's hard to think of it like that until you start thinking about it like that on a regular basis. I'm telling you, because for the longest time, I've told you, basically from birth, I've been a people pleaser and a perfectionist. And so think about how I hated failure. Think about how I've told you how I would avoid failing at anything because I couldn't handle that shame. Absolutely not. I was already feeling weighed down by as many other burdens that I had. Having another one was just absolutely unacceptable. So, but I've shifted from that. And so I'm just telling you, it's possible. If you are struggling with realizing that failing can actually be a positive impact in your life, you just have to continue on that mindset for long enough that it's like, okay, yeah, that is your immediate mindset shift. Oh my gosh, I just failed. Okay, well, what did we learn? And how can we take those learnings to make it better next time, or go in a different direction, or make a change, or me becoming even more of my best self, right? You gotta ask yourself those questions. But anyway, so yeah, failing is not the end of the world. There is so much opportunity for growth and change in shifting your perspective. A lot of our perspectives for ourselves are really zeroed in to the things that are important to us, the things that we have to see and deal with every single day. And then the way that we've decided to see the world based upon how we've grown up and our own core values and beliefs and things like that. But failing and really seeing things from a different outcome than we were expecting, than we were hoping, than maybe we were needing, can also aid in us widening our perspective because we're forcing ourselves to see like, well, why didn't this work out? Oh, it's because I'm only thinking about it in one way and I could think about it in 3 other ways. Oh, I didn't see that like this actually means this and I was taught that it meant this, right? There's so many opportunities. Widening your perspective. It's an amazing opportunity for all of us, I'm telling you. And I just want to let you know that if you are like who I was, where I was running from failure, did not want to touch it, absolutely not, we're not friends. If you continue to avoid failure in your life like I used to, you'll never discover new things about who you are and what you are capable of doing because you aren't pushing yourself beyond your perceived means. You are not allowing yourself to widen your perspective or learn something new and grow and change because you are afraid that that will make you look weak, having to go through the failure to get to that growth and change. And maybe, just to be honest, some people will see you as weak because they choose to, because that's their outlook, because they are insecure in themselves and it's hard for them to see that as anything but what they see it as something to feel shame for. But just because they see it that way doesn't mean that you need to see it that way, and doesn't mean that the way they see it is actually right or true or correct. So don't think of failure as something that's terrible. It feels really sucky when it's happening, when you're going through it, but then you have to shift your mindset to realize, okay, this is a learning opportunity. What can we learn? How can we move forward? So yeah, if you continue to avoid failure, you'll never discover new things about who you are and what you're capable of doing. Failing, it's worth it if you're willing to fall down a bit. If you're willing to go through that, it's amazing. So failure isn't a terrible thing. I just wanted to kind of throw that in and remind you of something I talk about all of the time. So today, though, specifically, I want to talk to you about how going through struggles doesn't mean that you're failing, right? It can certainly feel like you're failing because what you're going through isn't getting any better. And sometimes more problems end up piling up on top of what you're already dealing with. And again, it's just too much. It's too much. It's overwhelming. It's it's over for you. You're just like, I'm done. I'm mentally done with this. But I want you to know that you're not failing. And by me telling you this, I understand that you're like, of course I am. Sabrina, you don't understand. Like, this is the thing that I wanted to do with my whole life, and it's not working out. I've been there. I've been there, right? It's frustrating. It sucks. It's lame. But you're not failing just because you're going through a struggle, because we don't know what tomorrow brings, and we don't know where we're actually meant to be end up, despite the fact that all of us love, including myself, to plan our lives so far in advance. And then we freak out when the path changes, when we end up doing something else, but then it feels right. It feels content. It's like, oh, when you look back on it and like hindsight is 2020, you're like, oh yeah, that was worth it. That was great. Why was I so difficult when that was happening? And again, that can be really hard for you to have that mindset right now, because when you are like shook out of your like normal life and then you have to figure out a new way, it's hard for you to be like, oh, I'm gonna look back on this and it's gonna be fine. Like, I understand it's difficult. But anyway, you're not failing if you're going through a struggle. If anything, you're succeeding to the most, to the absolute most, because you've decided that not giving up isn't an option for you. So, because if you give up, then that is like failing. And even though we've already said failing isn't bad, it's a learning experience. But if you decide to give up and that equals to failure, the thing that you can learn from that failure is that you shouldn't have given up. You should have sought support, help, assistance, whatever, to keep going. But yeah, if anything, you're succeeding to the most because you've decided you're not giving up. You've decided that you need to keep going and not let your struggles control you and dictate your future. But I understand that persevering and making that mental shift from this is too hard to this isn't too hard for me to get through is the key, is something that you have to train yourself to do so that it is so natural, despite whatever craziness is happening in your life, you're able to be like, okay, but wait, we can deal with this. This took me some time because I immediately love to worry, have anxiety, jump to some sort of catastrophic negative experience that might happen. Whatever that most terrible outcome is, I'm already like formulating a plan to attack it because I'm like, but this could happen. But as time has gone on and I've trained myself to be like, okay, no, I can get through this. We can get through this. I truly believe that God doesn't give us more than we can handle. But a lot of times the key to that is that we say that, but then we don't realize that God's thought and our thought don't align, because we think that we can handle a lot less. And He has more faith in us to handle a lot more. So we're just not believing in ourselves enough. Another thing that we should talk about later. But yeah, so you got to make sure that you are ready and willing to persevere and make that mental shift from this is too hard to this isn't too hard for me to get through. So I have 4 reasons why struggling isn't failure, just like it's reasons for you to kind of keep in the back of your mind or even write down and keep somewhere. So when you do feel like you're going through a major struggle, you're on that bus locked in tight for a long ride, but this will help you to like hopefully be more calm and realize, okay, I'm not feeling right now. Just kind of like something to keep in your back pocket to help you feel calm when you are going through struggles and you are feeling so overwhelmed with feeling like you're failing. So the first one I have for you is you're not failing because you're actually trying. You're actually trying. So like I said before, you are not failing. If anything, you're succeeding because you're continuing to go through, but you're actually trying. You're trying to figure out what needs to happen, how you can change this, how things can get better. You're doing the work. You're persevering the best that you can. And maybe you need a few other things in there to make it better, to make it, I don't want to say easier, just more manageable. That might be all you need to really just make it not so horrible. That's the best way I can really say it. Not so horrible, because some struggles we go through really, really suck. And you're like, we're ready to move on. I don't want to be in this pit. I feel like I'm in the pit of despair and I need to be out. We need to not. Let's just not. Those kind of feelings. So, when you're struggling, you're not failing because you're actually trying. You're not giving up. You're not becoming a victim and trying to blame everyone else. You're doing what you can do. You're trying to enlist help and support and everything you don't know how to do. And you are having hope and believing that the future will be bright and you will move on from this. This is only a season. This is only a season. So you're actually trying. Number 2, struggling isn't failing because it just takes longer for your results. One of the things that I struggle with the most is patience, especially when someone else is doing the thing that I want to do and they're doing it quicker than me. It's annoying. Just to be honest with you, it's annoying. I don't want to have to wait. Why am I having to wait? They didn't have to wait. Well, let's be real. It appears that they didn't have to wait. We don't know. They could have been hoping for this for 20 years. We don't know that. But it doesn't look like it, right? It looks like, we're starting to do the same thing at the same time, in the same way, and they're getting it before me. That sucks. Why? I don't want that. I feel like I'm failing. But really, your results are just taking longer. And they're taking longer because you're a different person. Everything might line up and feel like it's the exact same with the experience of someone else doing this thing. Again, we really need to move away from comparison. But, it might all line up and feel the same, but it's not. It's not because you're two different people. You are. There is going to be definitely variants of things that are totally different in the way that you've done it. And so their results might come quicker. However, their results coming quicker might mean that they might not last as long as yours, because yours are taking a little bit longer. They might be a little bit stronger, more defined. So I don't want you to think that just because you're going through this struggle, you are failing, because usually we feel like we're failing if we're not seeing what we're expecting to see as a positive result at some time, especially if someone else, again, is getting that before us. No, it's just taking longer, which isn't a bad thing. Sometimes we're just not ready for whatever the problem solve, whatever the solution, the resolution, whatever that would be, that result that we're waiting for. Sometimes we're not actually ready for it. We still need time to grow and change before we're able to accept whatever that result is whenever it comes and then move forward. Do you know what I mean? So sometimes, God in the universe just doesn't know. Just know, well, they know that you're just not ready and you just don't know that yet. So you really have to have hope and faith and know that it's going to work out. You just need to not give up. You need to keep going and realize, okay, you just need to wait a little bit longer. It's going to happen when it needs to happen. It probably won't feel like it's happening in the time you want it because you want it right now, especially since society and the culture that we live in right now is a very right now culture. So it's just taking longer for your results, and that's okay. A lot of things are worth waiting for. We just have to remind ourselves of that. Number 3 is success doesn't come without setbacks. So another way to think about this is success usually doesn't come without failures. And you know how we already talked about how failures should not be something that you look at in a negative light, because there's opportunity for change and growth there. And it's important to realize that if you're waiting for your success and prosperity through this struggle, you have to know that generally doesn't come without setbacks. And I know there's going to be some people well, no, a lot of people have success the first time. And honestly, I just think that's luck of the draw. It's luck. And generally, when you are lucky and things just work out in the beginning at the top, that luck can be short-lived. And even if it's not, it's still a very small percentage of things that you will not have to go through some sort of setback or failure to gain success. And so it's important to realize that, because then your expectations can change and shift with that thought of knowing, oh, okay, yeah, I will have to go through some ups and downs. There will be setbacks, there'll be struggles. And so knowing that going through a struggle will mean that there is success on the other end. I am excited that I will be able to look that success in the face at some point soon. That was so silly. I don't understand. That phrase was weird. Anyway, success doesn't come without setbacks. You have to remind yourself you're gonna have to like push through. Think about any project that you've done and you've kind of been like, oh, I don't know how to do this, or you try something, it didn't work out, so you got to like tinker and change just a little bit, and then you're like, okay, that feels good. Like anything like that. Anything from even the smallest thing, the smallest example of like you're putting a Lego set together and your setback is you don't know where the heck those 3 pieces that you really need are right now, and you can't just like move past it. You need those 3 pieces. You need them, right? And so it's a setback, but then you figure it out and then you move forward. Yes, it costs you extra time and effort, of course, but I would say that you obviously needed that. I needed that. We needed that to make sure everything was going to work out the best that it could. So success doesn't come without setbacks. Luck generally is short-lived. Just something to remember, because we all get all hung up in the people that just get it off the jump, but don't worry about them. Okay, they're going to do their thing. You need to do yours. So just because you're struggling doesn't mean you're a failure, but a lot of times having failures and setbacks in your struggles, you will learn so much more. Your success will mean so much more and be so much more for you possibly. Okay, number 4, and the last one that I have for you today is struggling isn't failure because you're growing through this struggle. And when you're growing and changing, that's obviously not a failure. That's actually a success. That's actually a wonderful gift that you are receiving. And I know that a lot of this can sound very woo-woo, and it's like, oh, well, this is all just like mindset. Yeah, it is. There is nothing magical and physical that I could give you to help you not feel like when you're going through struggles that it's not a failure, other than like imploring you to shift your mindset. And I'm not even trying to tell you to think like the most positive thoughts. Absolutely not. You can still feel like crap and be grumpy and crabby and like feel a little bit negative about it, as long as you don't give up, As long as you understand that your results are coming when they're going to come, as long as you understand that a lot of times there will be setbacks and failures in success, and as long as you know that you are growing through this experience, even though you feel like you're having a continual bad day that just won't end. You're growing through this struggle, whether you see it or not. More than likely, someone else might see it first, especially if you're really being grumpy about it. Totally fine. I'm grumpy a lot of the times. Ask my husband. He will tell you. But yeah, you have to realize that you will struggle and you're growing. You yourself, if you're having a hard time seeing the growth that you have, that you're gaining through the struggle, really just ask yourself, how many different problems, like mini problems, have you been able to overcome? And like whatever the answer is, that is already growth, because you're able to be like, okay, let's try to solve these problems the best way we can. Let's try to like move forward, continue to like trudge through this like wet sand of a struggle that you don't want to be in, but if you just keep going, steady pace, you'll make it to the end and you'll get out of the pit. So you should also be excited about the growth. You don't know what it's going to be generally, but you can just be excited like, wow, I'm going to become a better person. I don't know how through this, but I am. And I'm excited to see how that's going to come together, and it's going to make sense. And I'm not going to let this get me down, because I know that I'm a stronger person than this struggle. And it might be a really, 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 really sucky struggle. Definitely not discounting that. I've been through some sucky stuff myself. And again, it can be so painful when you're in the middle of it, when you're in the thick of it. But you have to believe in yourself that you can overcome these things. You are stronger than the struggle. That's so cheesy. I'm so sorry, but it's true. It's true. It's true. So just remember, you're actually trying, It's just taking longer for your results. Success doesn't come without setbacks, and you're growing through this struggle. And growth is not failure at all whatsoever. So that's a good reminder. But that's all I have for you today, you guys. That's all I have in regards to struggling doesn't mean you're failing. So thank you so much for listening to the Real Positive Girl podcast. Again, with me, Sabrina. I appreciate you guys listening, downloading, and sharing the show. And I do encourage you to rate the show if you have time on Apple and Spotify. That really helps other people see the show and get an opportunity to listen to it too and get help. Or you can just share it with whomever you think might benefit from listening to this episode or any other of the 380 some episodes that there have been. So yeah, I would really appreciate that in advance. Again, check the show notes below for where to find me on Instagram, where to send me an email, where to find my website, and thank you. You guys are absolutely amazing. Amazing. And that's all I have to say to you guys right now. And I'm going to awkwardly end the show right here. But thank you so much. I appreciate you all. And I cannot wait to hear from you. So until next time, have a good one. And I'll see you next time. Bye.